All right.
Do you want me to record myself separately and send you the audio?
If you want.
Let's do that.
Just in case.
You know what though? If you're recording all the files, never mind. I'm just making it more difficult. Let's just leave it like it is.
All right. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the 24 Down podcast. I'm your host, Hat, and let me just get to something really quick here before we bring on our guest. In case you guys haven't seen the Facebook post, I decided earlier this week that I'm going to expand the podcast a little bit. So I reached out to Buddha, Andrew, and Francis, who all very early on, before it even started, said, "Hey, let us help out however we can help out." So they are now all going to rotate on here and there. So you might hear them with me or instead of me and the guest. So that's something to look forward to. But with that, let me bring in our guest for the week, my birthday twin, Matias. How are you, brother?
Yes, birthday twins. What's up, man?
Not
Thanks
too
for having
much. Yeah, dude. It's good to have you on, man. I feel like I'm the rookie in this scenario here.
Oh, stop. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to flex my podcast skills a little bit lately, but dude, it's so hard. Like, it's so hard to like develop that muscle to be able to speak to people and know what to ask and how to like keep the pace going. But you're doing a marvelous job. Trust me.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I am interviewing the guy who interviewed KJ52, so I mean that's something, right? Can I put that on my resume?
This is like how COVID spreads. It's like, oh well, I know this guy that married to that guy and his aunt and his wife's uncle. So that means I have it, right? Legit though, I did get tested today for coronavirus because I was actually exposed to it by one of my clients at work. And dude, that test sucks. It legit sucks. They stick a Q-tip that's like 10 inches long, like straight into your nose, all the way to the back of your head. And then they twist it for 10 seconds, dude. They're like, it's going to be 10 seconds. Like they say that when it's in there and they're just like, 1, 2, and they're just digging away. I'm just like, ah, it sucks, man. But
Damn.
Go ahead.
I've seen videos of it, but I can't imagine actually having that's got to be crazy.
It doesn't hurt, dude. It just feels really, really weird. Like it feels like somebody's just like in your head. And that's really the only way to describe it. It's like somebody is just taking a cotton swab and just rubbing the back of your head.
Jesus.
I know. Yeah, it's weird. So, and then I was like, since it didn't hurt, I was just talking to them like normal after they, because it was a drive up. So I was like in my it was like I was talking out my car window to the person who administered to me. And I was like, hey, just talking to him. And I looked in the mirror and dude, my eyes were bloodshot red and I had tears like completely down my, like, I didn't even know I looked like I had just like come from a funeral or something like that. I was just like, geez. And like my whole face was completely like, you could see my body was involuntarily showing how much, in uncomfortability it was in.
That's insane. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that test comes back negative.
And thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's start this off the way we've kind of started every episode off. So if you've got however long you want to take, just kind of give everybody an overview of what the life of Matias has been post Valley Forge, post 24 Down.
Oh man, dude, yeah, really digging deep, man. Like this, I've been through a lot, honestly, since Valley Forge. A lot of lows, and a lot of highs. Like I feel like I'm the healthiest I've ever been, and I feel like happiest I've ever been. But coming out of college was a really rough time. And I kind of like, as Hat and I were preparing for this, we talked about it a little bit. Like a lot of you guys, I'll just say it right off the gate, a lot of you guys witnessed me go through a really dark time in my life. And that was towards the end of my college career at Valley Forge around 2008, 2009. where I just had a really bad breakup, um, made some really bad, stupid decisions that were fueled by alcohol. And you were there. I remember you talking to me one day, and I was just like crying in my car like an idiot. I was like, "Oh man, I don't know what's going on," and Hat was just counseling me and just like, "Dude, it's gonna be okay." And I just want to apologize to everyone who I gave a haircut to, that I like forced you to be my therapist for an hour straight while I cut your hair. And I vented to you about all my personal issues. But yeah, man, I left Valley Forge with the same wounds that I went into Valley Forge, uh, that I had emotionally and mentally. I didn't find out till later, till after Valley Forge, that I have really bad ADHD and OCD. And I had a lot of anxieties that just caused me to be in a lot of disarray and confusion, and just like darkness kind of. But in the midst of all that, even though I was experiencing that emotionally and mentally, 24 Down was and always will be a shining beacon in my life. Just so wholesome and wonderful. Just the experiences I had with all of you guys. But we'll get to that later. But as far as like after college, so I became a pastor in Duncannon Assembly of God in Perry County, Pennsylvania, which is basically like Hickville, only brown guy for 10,000 miles. And like, yeah, I was a youth pastor. And the way that happened was I spoke to Phil Baker. I was super lazy after I left Valley Forge. I was like, all right, I'm going to get a youth pastor job because I have a youth pastor's degree, and I'm just going to, be a youth pastor, and that's it. And so I was like, yo, Phil, where are the jobs at? I didn't put any applications in, didn't search out. I was like, yo, where are the jobs at? I just emailed him, and he's like, all right, well, we'll put your resume up there, I guess, or put you in the recent grad thing that they have. They have some type of website on Valley Forge showing the recent grads. And then somebody contacted them requesting a new grad for youth ministry, so they would be their youth pastor. And um, they chose me. Ended up being this 86-year-old man in a church in Duncannon, sweet man, but he was 86 years old. And he was just saying, hey, we're glad to have you. Yeah, it was awesome that he was so accepting. But I come to think of it now, I think I was like the only person available at the time. And the events that led to them needing a youth pastor was because their youth pastor was killed in a car accident 3 months before, tragically. I didn't know that until 4 months after me being a youth pastor. And I was like, oh, these kids just don't like me as their youth pastor because I'm the new guy and stuff like that. And then one day, one of the members told me, like, yeah, the old youth pastor, he was killed in a car accident. And they brought you on 3 months afterwards. So, and they didn't tell you anything about it. So that was weird. That senior pastor had 3 massive heart attacks and strokes. And so I was basically kind of running the show a little bit here and there. And I was in no way, shape, or form prepared to do that. Definitely was a learning experience. I lived on my own for the first time in my life during that time. And I was only there for about a year. And it was another just really, really dark time in my life because I had come from this amazing place where I had so many friends and an amazing community to just being completely isolated, not a person that looks like me in the world, fending for myself, not making a dime, living on my own. And I was just really just like, what in the world is going on here? So I just, I honestly turned to alcohol and drugs, and, ended up just making even more bad decisions. And ended up living back with my family and working at a warehouse for a little bit, which God used that to introduce me to my wife. Actually, I met my wife at her lowest place as well, working at a warehouse in Pennsylvania, where we were wiping off iPads together, and we were like the only Christians in the area. So we became really good friends. Long story short, I eventually ended up dating her and marrying her because we were we vibed and we got along really well. But then, in between there, I'll just try and cut it short. After the church, I worked at a warehouse, worked at Home Depot for a little bit. Then I worked at a state um, juvenile detention center, maximum security juvenile detention center. That was, actually what I went into youth ministry for. I really have a heart for juvenile delinquents and those who are in detention. Because I worked a lot with them in my youth group growing up. We used to go to this same prison that I worked at was the prison that we went to in my youth group. So I actually worked at that juvenile detention center for about 3 years, and that was enjoyable, but also very difficult, very stressful, and very stretching for me. And for those who know me, you guys know that I'm kind of a violent dude. I love to fight, and it's a very violent environment. Like, it's the type of place where there's literal murderers there, and they're still juveniles. So I was having to restrain these incredibly huge kids and use my little bit of martial arts skills that I picked up against these guys. And I was just doing that constantly. So, like, part of me was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. But part of me was like, okay, these are juveniles that I'm beating up here. This is wrong. So another long story short, I left that job to be an associate pastor in Harrisburg, and that whole story is really crazy how that happened. I met another guy that went to Valley Forge, Rob Gillen. I literally saw him on the side of the road, drove up to him. I was like, yo, what's up, Rob? And he's like, yeah, come to my church. And I was praying to find a church at that time. And so I attended his church. He ended up leaving that church, and I was the only person that was helping out with youth ministry at that time. So I stepped into his position. And I worked there for probably another 2-3 years, 4 years as an associate pastor. And pastor life is just as stressful, if not more stressful, than working in a juvenile detention center, a prison. Like, if you believe it or not. And those of you who are working in ministry right now, I'm sure you can attest to that, because you deal with people, except you can't slam them on their heads when they don't do what you say. And that's the thing. Like, you have to behave with a level of grace and mercy and professionalism, and people look to you, and they look to your spouse as well. When I got married, my wife had to basically deal with being a quote unquote pastor as well, because they look to her as being like on the, a pastor's wife. So that must mean she's amazing too. And she couldn't take that. Like, that's very hard to deal with as a wife and as a family. And situations are difficult there when you can get into, like, Rick kind of talked about this in his podcast, Big Daddy. He was saying how there's just ministry is difficult. And I really, I'll just say it like this. Unless you've worked in corrections, like I have with juvenile delinquents, you'll never understand what it's like to work and deal with criminals. And I'll say the same thing for ministry. Unless you've been in ministry, unless you've worked in ministry and had to supervise people in a pastoral way, you'll never know what it's like to what that person's dealing with that's on the pulpit, or the staff and what they deal with. You'll never know. And it's a lot that they deal with because of the amount of pressure that's put on them, and the amount of duties that they have, and just the type of unity that you need to have as a staff. If the leadership isn't there, then there's no unity, and it creates even more stress. So long story short, left that too. And now I'm working with, and then I left to the company I'm with now, Diacon. I'm a social worker now, and I still work with juvenile delinquents, but I'm not slamming them on their heads. I'm actually the program manager of a mentorship program, youth advocacy program, where we take kids that are in juvenile probation and foster care and things like that are dealing with issues that need help with independent living, things like that, and just overall mentorship. That's what we're doing. So now when these kids act up and they're not, and I'm not the law this time, I'm just like, hey, you're ruining your life. Sorry, I'll see you later. and then they get locked up. So it's much more of a peaceful job for me, and I'm still able to do what I actually went to Valley Forge for. So I'm really grateful and thankful for Diacon, and I'm probably going to stick with them for a very long time because it's the best company I've worked for. So I'm very blessed and fortunate to be able to be where I'm at. So yeah, now I have a little baby. His name is Marcelo. We call him Cello. That's like a Puerto Rican ism. Um, for some reason, Puerto Ricans, we don't refer to ourselves as our actual name. Like my actual name is Lionel, but everybody either calls me Matias or Matt. Nobody calls me Lionel unless they hate me they want me to throw hands with them. So yeah, so we call him Cello, and that's like a lot of Puerto Ricans have like a nickname, so that's what we call him. We call him Cello because Marcelo, and he's really really cute. I've always wanted to be a dad. I'm a weird dude like that, and so I just love holding him. I love playing with him. Love seeing him grow and learn, and I just love it. It's fantastic. I love it. So yeah, there we go. There's a run through of Matias and what I've been through since Valley Forge.
I mean, that's a lot, and you unpacked a lot there, and I think there's a lot of things in there that people probably didn't know, some that maybe people did know, but um, through all that, for me anyway, and I know like I've seen you, a few times, quite a few times since Valley
Mm.
Forge, and we stay in touch and everything like that. But had we not, and this was the first time I was hearing from you, it would be very easy for me to say, man, this is the same guy. Like I know you said when you were at Valley Forge, it was some dark times and everything like that, and you were going through things like that. But at the end of the day, you were a very fun loving guy. You were always looking out for everybody else. And that just comes through again, hearing what you've been through since Valley Forge. So to me, the more things have changed, the more they stay the same for you. Like you haven't
Mm.
strayed away from the character of who you are, who you've always been, which I think is awesome.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to touch about on your, when you were talking about your story, is man, I can't imagine going into a position of ministry, of leadership, and 4 months later finding out that there was somebody prior to you. Like that's some huge shoes to fill that like they didn't even give you like the laces to tie those shoes with, That's
Yeah,
insane.
man,
I mean,
dude.
I know like for me, like growing up, there was a point where my one youth pastor, him and his wife had stepped down and moved away, and so they were going to bring somebody else on, and that original youth pastor, like it's not like he didn't die in a car crash or anything like that. It was nothing like that. But for this new guy coming in, man, it was I wasn't real accepting of him because I was so used to the youth pastor that I knew prior. So you talk about
Yeah.
like adding that to, well, that guy didn't even have a choice to step away. A tragic accident happened, but to me, it just amazes me that they didn't give you any kind of heads up or anything about that. That's
Yeah, so weird. Yeah, you're right. Like people are idolized when they pass away. So yeah, imagine that the whole idolization that's already present when a youth pastor steps away from his position and the old youth groups there. Add that to that person dying while still being like at the peak and pinnacle of their lives. These kids were so like they had that person ripped from them, and I was just thrown in there a few months later. Oh, here's the new guy. You know what I mean? Like that was it. That was the perspective that was there. It's like, geez, man, could
well,
have
that's
taken a little bit of heads up.
that's always I mean, that's always going to be a tough position for anybody, regardless. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
had they at least given you a little bit of a heads up, you could have handled things differently and been more attentive, been more, you know, whatever towards the situation to understanding or whatever to maybe make that transition a little bit better for you. But to just not even mention it at all, man, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, dude.
That is crazy. Well, like I said, man, that's good. It's awesome to hear that things are going well. And I know how happy you are to be a dad. I know that was a huge moment in your life. So
Mm.
I think that I mean, I'm not meaning to put words in your mouth, but that was probably the best thing that's well, that or getting married, the best thing that's happened since Valley Forge for you.
Yeah, a lot of highs, definitely. You combine with the lows. So yeah, like my son, yeah, love him so much. And being married to somebody that you're closely connected to, that's also really good. Marriage is tough, and this is the best way I've heard it described. It's like, the person you marry, you choose to love them, but the person that you create, you have no choice but to love them because they're part of you. And so, like, I feel like that's the best explanation of what I'm experiencing right now. It's like I just look at him and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta kiss that thing. I gotta go hug him and I gotta kiss that thing and throw him in the air and bounce him on my knee. And so,
When
yeah,
does
it's like you can't help it. It's like you know, it's something that just comes as you are moved to do these things.
so I guess my question about him is when does he start his MMA career?
He's already started right out the womb.
That's awesome. All right, well let's get into some questions here, and some of these you will have kind of touched on things already, and so we could gloss over that if it's something you've already touched on,
Sure.
and then I'm sure some stories will come out of these questions, and then at the end we'll just get into nothing but stories. So this first question is from one of the terrible flag burners, Phil Anderson, and he wants to know what your major was in college, and what do you believe God has called you to do. He says he misses you and loves you.
Oh man, love that guy, Phil. Let me just say something about Phil real quick. First time I met Phil was like out of a movie. I mean, come on, it's Phil Anderson. You know what I mean? So Alex is like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna meet my brother tonight." So we went to his house in Spring City, and Phil's just outside smoking a cigarette, chilling on his deck. Just and I walk up. I'm like, "Hey, what's up? Nice to meet you." And then we're like, "How you doing?" He's like, you know me, LIVIN, living." Dude, it's like out of a movie. He's like, LIVIN, living. He's the man, dude.
So
Yeah, so go ahead.
before you get to his answer really quick, I just have one more question about Phil. So you
Mhm.
were a lot more accepting to Alex coming into the floor than a lot of us were.
Yep.
And then eventually through time, we all kind of were like, oh yeah, Alex is sweet. But like, I know me personally, when he took me for the first time to meet Phil, I still had that little bit of like, I don't know, like, did you have some of that still, or were you just kind of like, nah, I don't care?
Let me just be honest here, guys. I don't give a flying crap about the damn flag, okay?
That's a lie. He's lying, everybody.
I never did. Never did. Let's be okay. So I'll be a little bit more. I'll clarify. So I definitely loved the flag and what it stood for. And when I saw that thing burning, there was something in me that was very hurt. But I was like, it's a flag, and obviously these guys are being drama kings, so I chose not to get involved. And you know what? I remember being there with you guys when you guys went up to 24 up to storm that one guy's dorm. I was with
Todd,
y'all. I
yeah.
was ready to rumble, bro. I was ready to rock with you guys.
So
But when it came down to, go ahead.
no, you were probably more involved in it just because you wanted to fight. It wasn't so much
Yeah.
the flag. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why I was like, all right, y'all, because I saw how much pain it put you guys through, and I was like, y'all hurting my boys over here, so we're about to rumble right now. So that was my investment. But when it came to Phil and Alex, like, I didn't see them there. I knew that most of the hatred was more towards Jeff. What is Jeffries? Whatever. I forget his
Oh,
name.
well, Todd was the one that was upstairs. No, the kid that laughed. What was his name now?
Yeah, I can't
Josh,
remember
Josh
now.
Davies.
Davies, yeah,
Yeah.
Davies and Todd. And I know that, Alex and Phil may have been there, but I always give somebody the benefit of the doubt. He didn't come at me aggressive. You know what I mean? Like Alex was seemed like the coolest dude ever. So I was like, you know what? I don't care. I didn't even associate that. I was more like the guys that I could tell were like, I don't know, maybe I can just feel like where the energies lie, because I was like, I could tell those guys were in it more for the fun of it, where the other guys literally had a hatred towards us. Maybe that's how I grappled with it. I don't know, dude. You know, it's weird how my brain works. I don't know.
I don't think that's weird at all. I mean, so if anything, this tells me that Matias is not going to be on the flag episode. So, all right.
Listen, I'll throw down for any one of y'all, but when it comes down to like material things, I don't know. I don't care about that stuff.
No, that's. I mean, that
I care because it matters to you guys,
sure.
and I cared about the flag, you know, when it was still alive. But I was like, we can make another one. It was a piece of, you know, cloth with spray painted 24. And we did. We made like a one that was 3 times bigger than the it was like a freaking canvas. That thing was enormous. It's like a tarp.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, back to, I guess we kind of dodged around Phil's question here. So I'll repeat it one more time. He wanted to know what your major was,
Yeah.
what you believe God's called you to do.
So, yeah, my major was youth ministry and the, you know, the typical Valley Forge youth ministry with a minor in Bible. I will say, since Valley Forge, one thing I didn't mention, that I am no longer, I don't identify as Pentecostal. I'm more, excuse me, I'm more like Reformed in my own personal views. Meaning, which is like basically the complete opposite of Assemblies of God, which is one of the reasons I also left my ministry. Because when you so I was as I was a pastor, basically studied the Bible every day in preparation for sermons and things like that, and I watched videos and you know, studied you know, textual criticisms and things like that. I really got really deep into it, and I started seeing answers for questions I had like my whole life. I saw them being answered with other camps. And so I was like, wait a minute, these guys have answers for things that are scriptural and make total sense. So, you know, I chose to align with the more reform crowd, or, you know, I guess you could say more Calvinistic crowd that you see more like Sam or Josh Lee. He's like more in his camp, like a Presbyterian type thing. I'm not 100% Presbyterian. I go to Evangelical Free Church right now, but yeah, I'm pretty Reformed. Actually, they would claim to be Calvinist as well. Anyways, long story short, I feel that God has called me to, like, I feel like I've always known my greatest desire is to help young people that have difficult pasts, like at-risk youth. Because I myself was an at-risk youth, just having had a lot. I needed a lot of mentorship. I needed a lot of guidance in my own life, and I felt like even at a young age, helping those in prison and helping those in less fortunate situations was so fulfilling to me that it's what I wanted to do for my whole life. So what I'm doing right now, helping kids that are in juvenile probation, kids that are in foster care, kids that are really hurting, just for somebody to talk to them. Like, honestly, you can make the world of a difference in some kids' life just by talking to them and showing interest in them. And it's so easy, it's ridiculous, and it's so fulfilling. I mean, it's not, I shouldn't say it's easy, because it can be difficult dealing with this crowd, with the demographic I deal with, but it's needed. It's a huge need. And I feel like there's a lot of fulfillment that comes from helping these kids out. So yeah, I guess that's what I would say my purpose / calling would be.
That's awesome. So this next one's from Big Daddy, and you covered a good chunk of it already. He said it wasn't too much of a question. He wanted to hear about how you and your wife met in that story. So you know, you kind of shared that. He said one of the reasons he wanted to was because at the 24 Down barbershop, he said you guys always talked about girls and the problems you had going on. And he said it's really nice just to see you happy, which we are going to get into some barbershop stuff in a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But he did finally ask this, and you could touch on any other things if you want, but he did finally say he wanted to know what your favorite Big Daddy memory was.
Oh man, dude, listening to the Big Daddy episode was so awesome, because like I know him probably better than a lot of y'all from the conversations that we had, because I gave him a cut almost every week. The dude is clean, y'all. He's a clean boy. And like, I mean that on many different levels. Like, he's just very, very clean, and you know, as far as his appearance, and he's very clean in the way he manages himself and his surroundings. Like his car was always immaculate. I remember he got a Malibu, I think it was. He got a Chevy Malibu. It was a red Chevy. He pulled up with it, and we were like, "Yo, this thing's nice." And it was so clean on the inside. It was like not a speck of dust on the inside. And he's just like, that's when Big Rick is best, when he's clean and he's fresh. He's like, that's when he's like full power Rick. And so I saw him a lot, and we talked about girl stuff all the time. And he and I always did talk about that stuff because we both were struggling with female problems at the time and just relationships in general. Um, yeah, and I was going through a lot, as I mentioned earlier. I was really, really immature when it came to relationships. But we always had that connection there with talking about, man, this girl's tripping, or what we're doing and stuff like that. And my favorite Big Daddy moment was when he came. He's like, "Maddie, I need a haircut tonight. Daddy's got a date tonight." Massive explosion. Like, that's what he said, dude. He said massive explosion for no reason. Daddy's got a date tonight. Massive explosion. I was like, what is this? It was so what is that? And so I cried laughing for like 3 hours. I repeated that, and I'll never forget. That's one of those things you think about like once every 3 months. I just think about Rick going, massive explosion.
So I don't mean this in a offensive way at all, and I hope you don't take it that way at all. I don't think you will, but there's something about you that is so cartoony. Like, your impression of Rick is spot on. Like, if the ministry stuff ever like pans out and you're down on your luck, and you should look into like voiceover work for cartoons and stuff.
Yeah, I've always been good at impersonations. And so, but he's a character, man. Rick, there's nobody like Rick. I've never met anybody like Rick. He's a big, powerful dude. And I'll say that about like the floor. That's what made one of our floor, that's what made our floor super unique, is that we had powerful dudes, like legit power. Buddha, like what? The dude had power. Rick, Justin Banks, Nate, like these dudes were strong, powerful dudes. Vaughn too, man. He was a tank. And like, so that's what made us so formidable in those freaking intramurals. We just had these dudes that were just powerhouses.
For sure. All right, so here's a question from two questions from Colleen.
Oh, cool.
She wants to know first what your favorite 24 down memory is, and then the second question is, what or when was the moment that you realized 24 down was more than just a simple friendship?
Oh, man. Honestly, dude, I told you this is probably going to be a long episode because I could go on so long about that crap. So my favorite, there's so many good ones, but I guess the first thing that came to mind as like one of the most memorable experiences, like there's so many times where all of us were just right there in that center area, just chilling, just talking and just laughing and just, just hanging out. We weren't doing anything. We were just chilling. And it was like 30 dudes. Like, what is that? That's like unprecedented. Just 30 people just sitting around talking, not drinking, not doing nothing, not doing any games. We're just talking. Like, you see that with maybe 3 or 4 people just like sitting around, getting to know each other. But 30 people, that's insane. Like I tried to explain 24 down to my wife, and she's like, "Dad, that doesn't make any sense." What is that? So my favorite, if I could just pinpoint it, favorite moment would be, I think, when we all did the underwear staff floor meeting. And then we were all like, "Justin, dude, what is that in your pants, bro?" white, the snake.
Yeah.
We're like, "What is this? What is that, dude?" The classic Samsung. What is that? Yeah, I remember just laughing so hard. We were all in our undies. And just like so many random moments where you, Wolfie, and who knows who else just did Heeled in the hallway, butt naked. Who used to do the "Good day, mate"?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think that was Wolfie.
Okay.
Hello, mate. It might have been Alex, dude. Alex might have done it. Hello, mate. It was like butt naked healing down the hallway. Airsoft battles. Like, I honestly never partook of any of that stuff that you guys did, except for like the dodgeball. Every once in a while, we'd have like those little dodgeball things that we would have in the hallway and ruin the whole hallway. But the airsoft gun one pissed off Henry so bad. So those little BBs are all over the ground. Like, you guys don't realize. Okay, listen, guys, we're gonna stop doing the airsoft. Okay, no more. We're not doing this anymore, guys.
That's awesome. So you brought up like the sitting around and talking thing.
Yeah.
And one thing that just kind of like, I don't know, I guess popped in my head about that, and just to try and set the table for anybody that didn't personally experience it. I know most people listening did, but for the few that didn't, it was literally like when Matias is saying like we weren't doing anything, we really weren't doing anything, but it was to the point of like if you were at dinner or you were at a class, or let's say you worked off campus and you're going to be coming back at 6 o'clock, like there was almost a rush to just get back, just to sit around and talk and do nothing. Like there,
100%.
it was, I, you're right. You can't, it's so weird that but it's a very unique character of 24 Down, I think, that's crazy. All right, here's let's see. Let's go to this one. So this is a question. I'm going to see if you can figure out who this is. Do you remember coming into my room when we should have been studying and singing February song
Yes.
so loud?
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Andrew,
Yeah.
me and Andrew, I was actually in my notes, me and Andrew screaming February song in the middle of the quad or whatever. Dude, I always forget like the first few lines, but once I hear the song, I'm like, Andrew, and I'm like thinking about him immediately. Yeah, I gotta do it. You gotta edit this part out where I'm looking it up because I have to do it. I have to do it right now for Drew. Because I have me and Andrew have a mean Josh Groban impersonation just from this song because both of our birthdays are in February. Okay, here we go. Tell him it won't be long till he opens his eyes. All right, that's it.
That's awesome. Well, while you're on the request hit right now, D-Shat had a question, and you already know what the question is. So do you want to cover that one?
D-Shat,
That's awesome. All right. So here's a question from Baldwin. He said, "What was it like being the only Latino on the floor?" And then he says, "Bringing that adobo flavor."
Yeah. So that's a really good question because part of my experience, just kind of being me, is I'm a biracial dude. I'm Hispanic, Puerto Rican, and Dominican, but I'm also super chocolatey. So I can come off to people who wouldn't know what I am as black. So I kind of vibe, and I grew up in a white neighborhood for the most part. It's since I was like 7 years old, I grew up in predominantly white neighborhoods. So I vibe with white people, and I also vibe with black people. But coming to Valley Forge, I was homeschooled, dude, my whole education except for first through fifth grade. So my first experience of like high school or like classroom was Valley Forge. So being that, keeping that in mind, and then being, I guess, the color and ethnicity that I am, I was kind of like, in between everything, where I was kind of new to school, and I was kind of like in between being cool with all the white people and all the black people. And there weren't very many other Latino people on the floor except for Carlos, and I don't know what Carlos. Carlos is like another dimension type of Hispanic. Like I love the dude, but he's on another level. But like, yeah, being the only Hispanic guy, and with that experience I just mentioned, it made it so that I could kind of like be everyone's friend, but not necessarily be like in any type of clique. Not that there were any on 24 Down for real, that's the crazy thing about 24 Down. There were like no clicks. There was one big click. And we just all, got along really somehow. But I guess, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to say what it's like to be the only Hispanic, because I felt accepted by y'all all the time. And that's what made, that's the hallmark of 24 Down, is that there was a level of acceptance there that was just from another world, because you had just about every ethnicity within the group. We had black people, we had Asian people, Hispanic people, white people, Brazilian people. You know what I'm saying? With the twins. And so, yeah, my ethnicity or race or whatever doesn't factor into like how I felt on 24 Down. And it's funny because I started on 24 Up when I first went to Valley Forge, and I can't recall what drew me to 24 Down initially and why I moved downstairs, but I just knew that there was an energy down there and a life down there that was so, it was so different than anything else on campus, that I wanted to stay there. And I just basically stayed in my one room for, the rest of my 3 years that I was there.
So I guess I'll jump to this question here because it's a roommate question here. It's coming from James Majeski. He wants to know what it was like to room with old Diabeto here.
Diabeto. Yeah, rooming with James was hilarious and fun. I don't feel like we ever had any issues, dude. Like, I would always, bust on him for being diabetic, and he would always get on me for being black colored, and he roasted me so bad, dude. He's the roast master. That's why we roast him so hard, because he can give it back like 10 times better. But we used to watch Family Guy like every night. I don't know if anybody knows that, but he would come home. He used to work at Iron Hill Brewery. He would come home. We had like a schedule, a structure or whatever. He'd work at Iron Hill. He'd come back 8 or 9 p.m., whatever, 10 p.m. He would strip butt naked, just about, like literally, in a matter of seconds. And I used to make fun of him how quick he would get naked, because he would just walk through the door and he'd already be in his underwear. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And then he would jab, his insulin into his butt or his thigh, whatever. And he would like freeze every time. Like, I'd be in mid conversation with him and he would just like be like a deer in headlights when he was doing it. I don't know. It was just his ritual. He was just like, and he would do his insulin, and then we'd chill for a little bit and then be like, hey, watch some Family Guy, huh? What do you think, Matias? So we'd watch Family Guy and we just quote Peter Griffin like the whole day, the next day, and we'd be like, and we just like do, quote his sayings and his voice to each other all day. So it was a great time with Majetski in the room.
So one thing about him that I can't pinpoint when him and I really started getting to know each other. I know it wasn't when I first got there. And I can't pinpoint when it was, but one thing about James that sticks out to me is, before I really knew him, if I would see him around, my impression of him was, there's just some like, this guy's just weird, like just something about him is weird, and if you don't know him, he's kind of quiet, but like when you know him, he's the furthest thing from quiet, and he's the furthest thing from weird. I mean, he's weird in his own way, but man, that kid is so hilarious.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Probably top funniest person in Valley Forge. Because he's so quick. He can just murder you in a split second. And you there's nothing you can say.
Right.
And God bless that guy. I know him pretty well just from living from him. And he's basically an 88-year-old man in a 28-year-old body. He's an old New Jersey man. And all he wants is to sit on his pontoon on his lake and smoke a cigar and go fishing. That's all he wants in life. Like, hey, Matias, I got my pontoon, my lake. You gonna come out someday? Get some friends over? What do you think? Like, and that's the thing. I was born in Jersey too, so like I get that. I'm a Jersey boy too. So, that's one of the reasons we got along, because we understood each other in that level.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so we got a first, not really a first time caller because he's not calling, but a first time question here. This guy's first time asking the question is to you, so I hope
Oh
you
wow.
feel a little honored here. This comes from Matt Wolf. He wants to know who your favorite sparring partner for boxing. Who was your favorite sparring partner for boxing in the hall?
Dude, that's an excellent question, Wolf. Um, what was his name when in the 24 down wrestling?
Commissioner Wolf, I think.
Commissioner Wolf. Thank you, Commissioner, for the question. But I had a lot of I had a lot of rumbles in 24 down. But um, man, the fights that were my most memorable ones, like Dwayne Lee, he was really good. Like I really like me and him would fight literally for half an hour straight and just spar, just having fun. Like we're not in any type of hateful type stuff. We would just spar, box each other, do all sorts of crazy stuff. I think me, him, and Samsung one time went out into the open area in front of 24 down, and all three of us fought together, like against each other at the same time, like on some ninja stuff. It was crazy. Um, so Dwayne Lee's my favorite sparring partner, but yo, the English twins, they got hands, man. Like definitely, like I think Eugene has really good hands. Like if he would have, that's the thing with the English twins. If they would apply themselves to literally anything, they would excel. They just had naturally talented at everything, and I hated them for that because I was just teaching like Yugi just like one or two things that I had learned, and he picked it up instantly. I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? Why are you so good? He's like, I don't know, man. And he actually beat me in jujitsu a couple times. He used to like beat me like all the time. So I told him, I was like, dude, Yugi, you could really cause some problems if you really wanted to get into this stuff. Francis too. I know one time I tried to like do some sparring with Francis and it didn't go so well. He was just like, nah, man, I'm not feeling this. And he just took his gloves off and like threw them on the ground. I was like, come on, man, fight back. But he wasn't feeling it. But he was good though. I was like telling him, I was like, dude, you're really good. You have this like the talent for it. But yeah, I guess the long answer. Definitely Dwayne. Dwayne was the man.
That's awesome. All right, so I got one more person, and he's got a series of questions here. It's coming from Buddha. Buddha's got 5 separate questions. So
What?
yeah.
Buddha.
I guess you could answer these as quick or as long as you want to answer them. First question is, what's your main mission in life?
Like I said before, just to help kids that are at risk, because I was one, and I find the most fulfillment in that.
Nice. Second question is, how much did you charge for haircuts? I don't remember. Something like $5?
Yeah, I charged $5 for shape ups and $10 for a full haircut, and that was it. That was my flat rate.
Yep. All right. Then he said, how many years did you live on 24 down?
3 years. Yeah, because
3
I
years.
lived one. It might have even been 3.5. I think I lived. No, it was 3 years because I lived 2 semesters on 24 up. I had 2 different roommates, both semesters, and then I was just not feeling it up there. And then every time, I think that's what it was. I lived 24 up, excuse me, but then I would go downstairs and it would be so popping downstairs. Like it was so live and everybody was like, hey, what's up? Everybody's going to each other's rooms. I remember going into everybody's rooms just like everyone else, like, hey, how's it going? And developing friendships with you guys that way. And I just felt so much more welcome down there. So I was like, I'm going downstairs. This sucks up here.
What year did you start?
2004.
2004. Okay. I knew you were before me. I just couldn't remember. So
Yeah. And then I graduated December of 2008.
gotcha. Okay. All right. So next question is, what did you spend most of your time on at college other than studies and cutting hair?
So that's the thing. I was so different than all of y'all because all of y'all were playing sports all the time. All of y'all were buying stuff all the time. And I was just making money, cutting hair, interacting with, and I cut everyone's hair, literally everyone's hair. I cut the basketball team's hair, the baseball team's hair, 24 Downs hair, 24 Ups hair, Beitzel, um, Bongiorno, some of the professors. Like I cut Coach Max hair one time. Um, yeah, I was cutting so much hair, and it was basically like I had a full-time job doing that. Shoot, I forgot the question.
It was just He's just saying, what did you spend most of your time on
Okay,
other than studying and cutting hair?
mostly cutting hair. I honestly, dude, I did not study at all until my last semester. 0% studying, but I somehow still passed. But last semester was like my best semester when it came to studying and like being focused. But I definitely spent a ton of time playing Tekken, um, getting mad at people for trying to beat me, and then who beat me? John Gill. Do you remember John Gill?
No.
He was on the basketball team, and he was the only person to beat me, and I got so mad. Like I think I broke my controller. I threw it on the ground. Like, no! I was so mad because that's all I did was play Tekken. I just played and played and played, and um, yeah, that's really it.
Nice. All right, and then the last question Buddha's got for you, and this is the last bit of our questions before we get into stories here,
Sure.
is he wants to know what your hobbies were then, which I think he kind of got into, and what are your hobbies now?
So my hobbies have always been um, the arts, like whatever shape or form they're in, and but mostly martial arts, because I love all art, but martial arts has always been near and dear to me. So I tried to do Philly MMA while I was out there under Brad Daddis, but it was so expensive I couldn't afford it. No matter how much hair I cut, it was going to be way too much for me while being in college. And I basically paid for 90% of my own college as well afterwards. I got my parents to co-sign, but I paid for everything afterwards, um, for the most part. And then, so like, I just didn't have money to do stuff. But um, right now, my biggest favoritist hobby is training jujitsu right now at Deepwater Brazilian Jiu Jitsu here in Harrisburg. Yeah, I love all martial arts. I trained with Bowdy. We did a little bit of Krav Maga. I trained Taekwondo with Samsung. He taught me really good moves and just like the overall, like the base movements of Taekwondo. Like I consider him and Josh Lee like very good teachers to me. Um, and then we did a little bit of jujitsu in 24 down, but it was just like garbage. And I never really got into wrestling at all. But now that like I have the ability to train, I got into jujitsu maybe 2 years ago, and it's my favorite by far. It's so complex, and it caters to my personality so much. It's so powerful too. Like I'm a small guy, and I can now feel comfortable dealing with people much bigger than me. Excuse me, because of jujitsu and the mechanics behind it. So that's definitely hands down my favorite hobby.
Nice. That's awesome, man. All right, well, I guess we're gonna transition now and get into some stories. And I don't know if you want to keep on this mixed martial arts fighting topic. Like, I don't know if you want to go right into that story. You know.
Oh man, Nate Campin, how you feeling, boy? It's like no, but listen,
before
yeah,
before you
go ahead.
get it, like there was always like different fights, not real fights necessarily, but like sparring or fights or whatever. There was quite a few that happened throughout the history of 24 down, but the two that always stick out to me are the Josh Lee and White Chocolate and the you and Nate Canfin. Those are the two that always stick out to me.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, I wasn't able to see the Josh Lee versus White Chocolate one, but I just know there was so many like memes that came out of that within the group. Like you guys even drew one on the wall. It's like you hit me with this part. Oh man, I wish I could have been there, but yeah, and that was actually real fighting because they used like really small gloves for that. Um, and Josh Lee's a murderer, man. He is a no joke. Um, but yeah, so I'll tell the quick story. Like I said, I just can't play any sports at all. I am the least athletic person when it comes to basketball, football, baseball, anything at all. But for some reason, my brain and my body just responds really well to martial arts. So that's why I'm really into it. Um, so I was playing basketball with y'all. They were practicing for intramurals or something, and Seabug was on its hair. He was just sinking threes. He was killing it. And I was like, and he started like roasting me a little bit. He's like, "Hey, Matias, when's the last time you made a point?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "Listen, I was like, y'all keep your basketball. I'm gonna keep my boxing. That's it." And he's like, "Yo, I'll knock you out, Matias." I was like, "Oh, will you? Yo, let's put the gloves on." And that's where it started. So I was like, "All right, let's put the gloves on." And he was dead serious. So I was like, "I'm dead serious too." So we just did it, like no hate whatsoever. But we're like, all right, let's go. Because I was like, and it was a spectacle because I was like one of the smallest guys on the floor. And he was one of the more, beefier dudes. He was shredded, jacked to the gills. And yeah, he had a good 30, 40 pounds on me. And then you recorded it, and we just went to town. And I didn't really know too much. So looking at it now, I was like, oh, that's pretty pathetic. But like, I laid into him pretty good. I was like, dude, you're not gonna clown me and get away with it because this is what I do. And so I like let him have it, busted his nose up, busted his face up a little bit. And I felt bad afterwards because like I did bust his nose up pretty good and he was leaking out his nose a little bit. And I was like, all right, bro, we're done. I'm not gonna whoop on you anymore. And he showed me some respect after that. You know what I mean? There was no bad blood. He was just like, all right, Matias. You know what I mean? There was like an unspoken, like, okay, you got
Right.
that, bro.
And absolutely nothing against Nate.
No, I
but
love him.
but when you got a guy like Nate, and I don't even know if Nate even listens to these podcasts, so whatever. But I hope this isn't offensive to him. Nate's a very cocky guy, and he has a right to be cocky because he's very good at most of the sports he does. Sometimes it's okay to get knocked off that peg a little bit, and that's what you did that day,
Yep. And dude, yeah, that's what it was. Everybody was like, yo, Matias just got a sea bug. What's going on here? Because that was like we all had our thing. And Nate, just had that privilege where he was super handsome, super strong, super talented at everything he did. And this was just one thing. Yeah, you know what I mean? Sometimes we overreach, and this is what happens, baby. All love though, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure if we would run that back, I'm sure C-Bug is the type of guy that he would probably whoop on me this time around. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just that type of dude. He's so
Right.
competitive and smart and strong that I would not want to run that back with him at all.
All right, so we will not book that match for the 24 down reunion. It's not going to happen.
Here, I'm gonna show you my dude real quick.
Oh, nice.
Oh goodness gracious! Here's my cute
Oh.
boy. Yeah, look at his hair,
What's up,
man.
buddy?
It's crazy. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
He definitely didn't get the hair from you, that's for sure.
No, not at all. I don't know what he got from me. A little bit of complexion, but yeah, this is Cello, everybody. I don't know. You can probably edit this out, but I wanted to introduce y'all.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, Cello. No, don't grab that, please. This is my brother, Joshua Hatmaker. Yeah. Hello.
What's up, buddy?
Like, he looks really like your brother.
All right. I'm doing that.
So, let's see. There's some other things I know you want to get into. You want to get into some barber stories right now?
Oh yeah. So, all right, I'll tell a couple barber stories. So as I mentioned, I was a huge learning experience for me going into Valley Forge. Just being surrounded with so many people, as I wasn't used to that. Being homeschooled, and being a barber, that's something I picked up while I was at home and I brought back to school. Like I just had the little elements of knowing how to cut hair, and then I eventually invested more into it and got really into it in college. So I kind of learned along the way. And so there were some guys that I kind of experimented on, like Buddha had mentioned. I took so long to do it because I wanted it to be perfect. And, some of my OCD played into that. Just really wanting everything to be really perfect. And so it was an outlet for me to kind of, have that OCD expressed and also make some money out of it. And one of my favorite stories, I guess a lot of them, is when I'm done cutting people's hair and they look in the mirror, they're like, yo, Matias, you're the best. Like that. I just got so much fulfillment out of that, out of just making my boys look good. And being able to grow in that skill. There's a couple of stories that I guess wouldn't really relate to 24 down because some of them I cut so many people's hair. One that I will never forget, and maybe 2 or 3 of you guys know this guy. His name was Jonathan Yost. Do you remember that guy?
The name sounds familiar.
He was kind of all over the place, and he's just another cocky dude who just he's just always talking smack. And I was cutting his hair, and he was saying, "Oh man, I got better barbers, and you're trash. I'm just gonna just get this because you're the only one here." The whole time I'm cutting his hair, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And so I used to cut with a straight edge to shape people up. And he was talking so much smack about me. I just took my razor blade and just like touched the back of his neck. I just went doop, like that, and I cut him like just like a little tiny cut. I was like, doop, because he said something really like disrespectful, and I was like, you know what, dude, boop. And I just
Right.
touched the back of his neck. He's like, yo, did you just cut me, bro? You just cut me. I was like, yeah, bro. Why are you talking so much smack to somebody who has a razor blade to your head? Like, I
Right.
think twice about that. So it's probably messed up to do that. Pretty tool bag move, but still, like, come on, man. I just had enough at that time. So that was one thing. Another, do you remember Jibo?
I don't think so.
There's another guy who's big black guy, amazing dude. This guy was very, very full of integrity, amazing guy, black guy. I cut his hair all the time too. One time I was cutting his hair, and he just shifted his chair, and the seat of the chair landed on my toe and took my toenail straight off. It was horrible, dude. And he was like, "Yo, my bad. But you're gonna finish this though." So I had like no toenail, bleeding profusely out of my toe, and I'm like cutting his hair, like, oh my gosh,
That's
so much
crazy.
pain. And he was like, "Yo, but you gotta finish this, bro. You can't let me look like this." So I was like, you know what I mean? Like, best guy ever, but he had a point. Like, I couldn't just leave him with half a haircut. So I was like, all right, bro, let's do this. So I finished him up. D-Shat will always, always, always remind me of the time I cut his hair and he did not wash his hair beforehand. And I had really cheap equipment at that point. So I tried to cut his hair, and honestly, like, his hair jammed up my equipment and broke it. And that stuff's not cheap, dude. So I was like, people were asking me for haircuts, and I'm like, dude, somebody broke my clippers because they had dirty hair. So I told him, like, that's what I told him. And D-Shat will never forget that. He's like, yo, remember that time you said I had dirty hair and I broke your clippers? Like, yeah, dude, you broke my clippers. I mean, I needed, I had to buy new clippers. But yeah, like and that's the thing. Like, it wasn't anything like, I was like, dude, I have no clippers. I can't cut hair right now. His hair was just too powerful. So that's a story that D-Shat will never, ever, ever cease to remind me of. Every time I see him, he's like, yo, remember Matias? When that happened? Like, yes, I do. I really do. Oh yeah. A lot of the times though, when I would cut people's hair, it was like, it was just a time where I would hang out, try to have fun, talk to guys, get to know them. Like my roommates, Vaughn Carson, James Fulton, D-Rob, I cut their hair all the time because I lived with them. And so I got to know them really well. You just get to know a lot about a person just cutting their hair. So that's how I have like a personal connection with just about everybody because of that. Like you mentioned in one podcast, I put King in your hair the one time, and I forgot all about the Blazing Berries thing I did.
Okay, so I want to bring up the Blazing Berries because I don't know if you remember this or not, but so you did the Blazing Berries, and you were gonna put like I don't remember what it was, like some sort of leaf or something, maybe with berries or something you're gonna put in there also. And so, oh no, maybe it was a star. I don't remember what it was. It was some shape. And so you did it, and like I remember it, like it looked fine, like it looked great, and you're like, no, this looks too much like a Christmas tree. And I was like, this doesn't look at all like a Christmas tree. You're like, all right, let me do it again. And so you like adjusted it, do it more, a little more, and you're like, this looks too much like a pot leaf or whatever. And finally, like after like you had to perfect it, and that's just like who you were. You didn't want to do anything half-assed. You want it to be perfect. And I remember like when it was finally done, and I showed up to my hockey game that night, like everybody on my team was like, what the heck? Like, that's crazy. Why would you pay so much money to get that done? I was like, my buddy at college did it for like, I pay you $5-10 for it?
Yeah.
Whatever,
Yeah.
But like, you were I don't know if you remember, like you did it at first and you're like, I can do better. And you went back to it.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's how I always did it. And, I usually kept people longer than they wanted to be there, but I wanted them to look good. And, when somebody walks around, I see them, and that's my product. You know what I'm saying? When I see how they look and I see my handiwork on them, I want it to reflect me. I want it to reflect how well and how much time and effort I put into it. So that's why I'm like, nah, you're not going nowhere till I'm done. So I would kind of hold people hostage until they looked amazing, or at least to my standard. I mean, not that I was like the best barber ever, but I at least tried my very hardest to get it so that it was very nice. Hey, give me 1 second. I got to take a leak, and I also got to get this baby to
All right,
be
cool.
quiet a second. 1
All
minute.
right.
Yeah, I just had to give the baby a passy quick.
Oh, you're good, man. You're good.
Um, and take a leak. What was I gonna say? Yeah, that was basically it for everything like barbering concerned.
All right. So we still got just want to make sure you want to hit all these still. We still got the Sabella thing, the my Philly, you guys in Philly story,
We
and
don't
then I
gotta
did,
talk about that.
you say you don't have to.
No,
I don't
it's okay.
mind. I don't
Okay,
mind
okay.
it. And then the I don't know if you because you said it a little bit earlier, but I didn't know if you wanted to get more into the Shade car thing.
Yeah, let me just. I did kind of like allude to that
Well,
earlier.
well,
Go ahead.
no, it's fine. I was just so you want to go into that or whatever.
Yeah, I'll just
All
go
right.
into that because it's really important to me.
So all right. So I'm gonna like edit all this out. So
Yeah.
all right. So I know you wanted to talk about another story, so I'll let you take over.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, I just had a really dark period coming out of 24 down or Valley Forge. And I just chose to, be angry and just release my anger in a really unhealthy way and really just very negative way. So, I was, as many of you know, I was in that relationship with Shade, and I chose to like destroy her car because I drank too much and I was just an idiot. And a lot of you guys were like freaked out about my behaviors and stuff like that. And I mean, I frankly was too. I was just, really out of touch with what I was doing. I never, harmed anyone. I never wanted to hurt anyone or do anything like that. And I think some of you guys were just like kind of worried, like, what the heck happened to Matias? Um, and for you guys to kind of like give me that space and then kind of like invite me back to be cool with you guys, like that was the most amazing thing to me, because like I was like, I've lost all my friends. I lost everybody. I lost my girlfriend. I lost, my friends. I got some charges out of that crap. And it was just a really, really pathetic time in my life. But you guys chose to, you guys chose to stick by me, and you guys chose to, sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Yeah, you guys chose to just stick by me, and you guys chose to accept me back, even though I was like going through a whole lot and I seemed like a pretty, messed up person for what I did. And so, I can never express how much that meant to me, that you guys were just like, hey, Matias, we get it. You just had a moment and it was not good. So Yeah, love you guys for that. You meant so much to me, and I know other people just would have forgotten about me and just let me go and just be like, oh, this guy's crazy. You know what I mean? Don't even talk to him anymore. He's wild. Um, but yeah, just wanted to say thank you guys so much, and love you guys for just being who you guys are.
Well, I know, um, to my recollection, um, we all, like, a lot of us were friends with Shade,
Mm,
but we were friends with Shade because you started dating Shade,
mm,
and that's how a lot of us like kind of got to know her a little more and stuff like that. And I can't speak for everybody else. I just know in my mind, when all that went down, um, yeah, I was friends with Shade, but you're my brother, and I think probably everybody felt that same way. And so I know, like you said, we didn't have to do it. Well, it wasn't a choice for any of us to do it because we were going to do it regardless. Like, you are our brother, It just, like, anytime any one of us would have done anything crazy, um, there's things that I did that were very, I wish I could take back, and
yeah,
a lot of things, But at the end of the day, like, everybody still loved me as their brother and stuff, and that's it. Just shows, like, the strength of 24 Down.
for
I
real, dude. Let me just continue on that real quick, because that's what it is. Like I said, I did not really have much in common with none of y'all, for real. Like I was not into wrestling, I was not into sports, but through it all, you're my brother. You're my brother. Everyone else is my brother and my sister on the floor. So it's like that's what it is, dude. Like, there's no describing how that happened, except it's just something that is.
Right, right. Well, I know there's at least two other stories you wanted to get into. One being a prank.
Actually, so something came up in my mind that I didn't tell you about,
Okay.
that I wanted to talk about.
Yep.
So I had before Valley Forge, I'd never drank or smoked or done
Uh-oh.
anything at all. And one weekend, I hung out with you, Rizzo, Alex, and I think Murph, right? We all went to Buffalo, and you guys are like, Matias, you're drinking this weekend. And then, so we all, like, that was my first time drinking in my entire life. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to drink, I'm going to get some Corona. And so I got Corona, and we all just got hammered.
So,
And then this is the one thing I'll never forget is that we all got hammered, like out of control hammered, and we were just going crazy in Mr. Rizzo's house, like Tom's dad's house. And then the next day, like, Tom Rizzo's dad was like, yeah, I knew they were having fun, and I knew they're a bunch of church kids, but then the sea suckers started dropping. They started dropping the sea suckers, and I know they're having a good time.
dude,
Dude.
I'm so glad you brought that up. There's so, like, first off, like, I completely forgot until you said that was your first time drinking. Like, so, like, that was a spark of memory.
Yeah.
That trip will always, like, that was such a fun trip. There are I guess the two other things that a is a is some of us may have um, been in some mighty taco type situations, and I'm not going to throw any names out there, but the other thing I, like, remember so distinctly from this trip is it was one of the, like, mornings we just, like, so we probably were drinking the night before, I don't remember, but we woke up in the morning, and Tom's mom, I think, was making us breakfast, and we're sitting out in the family room watching George Carlin stand up on TV. And he's doing this bit about, I don't know, he's like talking about how, like, people, like, the premise of the bit is when people talk too much and you want to just stop them dead in their tracks and be like, blow it out your ass, And so, like, we hear this and we think it's so hilarious. Well, Tom's mom comes in and she starts talking about something, and she talking and talking. And we kind of looked at Alex and we're like, Alex, do it. And so he just cuts her off. He's like, blow it out your ass. And we just all lost it. Like, because Alex is down to do anything you tell him to do.
Blow it out your ass. Oh my gosh. Dude, Alex, Yeah, Alex has just got that comedic timing that is out of control, dude. Yeah, that's true. That whole weekend was wow.
Yeah. That if Valley Forge knew half the stuff that went down that weekend, we might not be having this conversation right now.
Oh shoot. Here, sorry, give me 1 second.
You good?
I, I had to move because the baby was getting sleepy.
Ah.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So yeah, with that Buffalo trip, dude, yeah, there was so much there, and definitely you guys popped my cherry, for lack of a better word.
You know, I wish I could, like, there's no way to really know, I guess, but I kind of wish I could somehow know in a really messed up way how many how many people did I, because I know, like, well, I'm not going to throw any names out there, but there's somebody on our floor that I got them to smoke a cigarette their first time ever smoking a cigarette, and I got them to drink the first time they ever drank. I was with you the first time you ever drank. So it's like, I wonder how many people I was like, I ruined their lives.
You corrupted. Hat maker freaking corrupted our lives. Yeah, I don't know. So I'll just say me personally, now that I'm reformed, like that's part of the community of being reformed, um, is to drink. And I think there's such a toxic understanding of alcohol and smoking and stuff like that that Christians have, especially Valley Forge, and as the Assemblies of God as a denomination as a whole, they completely condemn any type of alcohol or substance use at all. When a lot of our founding fathers were smoking pipes in their pictures, you know what I'm saying? Like, and drinking alcohol, and Jesus himself drank wine. Like, it's unavoidable, the enmeshment of alcohol and Christianity within our very faith. The very Eucharist itself is wine. So it's like, relax, guys. God. And I mean, I'm not mad at you for introducing me to my first alcohol. I'm mad that I didn't have one before. Like, man, it's such a the Bible says alcohol maketh the heart merry, and it actually speaks of it in positive terms. For those of you who are feeling that the whole image of alcoholism is not consistent with Christianity, please read your Bible and read that Jesus himself said that I will no longer drink of the fruit of the vine, meaning that he was drinking. He was drinking, y'all. So like, yeah, all that to say, I don't, I every experience that I had with you guys made me a better person, and I feel like it did not corrupt me in no way, shape, or form. So if anything, thank you, Hat.
No problem.
Thank you. As I hold my perpetual IPA from Trogs.
All right, so you want to get into a prank story here?
Sure. Okay. So one day we pranked the mess out of Phil Sabella. You guys just kept doing this to people. This was like towards like 2007, 2008, I think. This guy named Phil Sabella. You guys used to just pile so much crap in front of people's doors and then knock on their door. And then when they would open the door, it would just go falling on top of it. And dude, Phil called the police. He called the cops. Like, who does that?
We've got one of them on tape. It was It's Tim Sarajan, and I can't remember the guy's name he was rooming with at the time. Real tall guy.
Oh shoot, yeah.
But we've got that one on tape. There's literally, like, I mean, you see this, and it is definitely a like college thought, because the way that, like, there's cushions position and trash cans leaning just right so that like when they open it, just all comes crashing down inside. So
Oh dude.
yeah, I do remember Phil calling the cops.
So he called the freaking cops, and when I found out he called the cops, I got triggered because like me and cops had never had a reputation, and I ran into his room and I was like, basically just cussed him out for being a wimp, and I was like, dude, what are you doing calling the cops? What's wrong with you? It's not that big of a deal. And I just got in his grill and just really reamed him out, and I just had him shook for a little bit, and then I like came back and started gloating to you guys. I was like, yeah, I just cussed him out, and yeah, that was crazy.
I
That
mean,
was insane.
don't you kind of wonder, like, what with the cops. Like, what are the cops'
What are
real
the cops
thoughts?
gonna do?
Like, what are
What are
their
they
real
doing?
thoughts when they hear this call? Like, 911, what's your emergency? Yeah, I live at a Christian college, and some guys on my floor just pranked me. Oh, okay. Well, what happened? They put some cans against my door, and I opened it, and some of the papers fell out. Like, what? Like, what?
I see them just laughing, like, this get good, dude.
Right.
Deal with it, brother.
Right.
Man, that was a great memory.
So there's one other story I know for sure you want to get to that I had no recollection of until earlier this week, and it's starting to like come back in my head a little bit.
So, okay. What Hat is referring to is a trip that I took with the Kajawas and Alex Anderson to Jersey City. Brandon had like a friend out there that he had a really great apartment, and we just were like, hey, let's just go have a great time over the weekend. So, and then one of them found this thing called Megabus, where it's only like $1 to drive up to Philly, or no, drive up from Philly to Jersey. And so Hat took us from Valley Forge to Philly, and we took Megabus from Philly to Jersey City, and we spent the weekend in Jersey City and had a freaking crazy time. Like, imagine the time we had at Buffalo, but we almost died. Like, I'm not even joking. We literally almost got killed. And I'm sure Alex can talk about that if he ever comes on. But yeah, we almost got killed by a bunch of gangster Mexicans just walking around. No joke. And I had to like speak in Spanish to tell them to go away and tell them that we were trying to chill. But anyways, yeah, we had a great time. Alex got drunk and jumped into a bush. Like, it was epic. Like, we just had an amazing time, and we walked around Hoboken for a little bit, got some pizza. It was just a really great time. And then we came back, and on the way, we were like, dude, Hat, so you're gonna take us to Philly, and you're gonna pick us up, right? And he was like, oh yeah, yes, and I'm pretty sure that was the agreement. And so we got back to Philly, and I think we called him. I don't know if text or call was really like even in the graspable technology at that time, but I know we were trying to contact Hat, and we were getting like busy signal or voicemail or whatever, and we're like, dude, that's not that's not gonna get us, dude. And so it's me, the Kajawas, and Anderson. I think we took a cab, or we called somebody to come pick us up, because this was during like the summer. It's close to the summertime of where no one else was around. And then we got back to the campus, and I remember just walking into Hat's room and be like, dude, Hat, where were you, bro? Like, what happened? And Hat, I don't know what happened. And Hat doesn't know what happened. But he was like, just get out of my room. I was like, oh, okay. I'll just leave then. And so like we all just were like, dude, Hat's just not having a good day or something. And so we just left it at that, because we got back, we had a great time. But like, I was telling Hat about that, and we were just like, dude, what the heck happened? And Hat, I don't think you remember what was going on, right? Like, what?
No, so well, first I want to like take this time to publicly apologize to all you guys. Like, I really don't remember. I believe that it happened for sure. Like, I don't
Okay.
doubt that at all. But I don't remember it. But I think part of the reason I probably don't remember it, and this is something that like I want to say to speak to how good of friends you guys are, is you guys probably really never made it a big deal after that. I don't know what would happen. I don't know if I was. I really have no idea. I can't imagine in my mind what would make me not come get you guys if I had agreed to, and be upset about when you called me out on it. Whatever it was, you guys didn't make a big deal out of it, obviously, and I think that's probably why I don't remember it. But I do want to publicly apologize. So,
Oh, dude, all good. Seriously, like I said, we got a ride back. We had a great time. Like all water under the bridge at this point. But that's like, I just remember that like moment, just being like, this is the strangest reaction I've ever seen to anyone being confronted on something they did to me. So I was like, because I remember being like, hey man, so what happened there? You said you were gonna pick us up, and you were just like, get out of my room. And then at that moment, I was not angry at you, and like no one else even bothered to even bother you. But I just wanted to know like what happened. And so we were all just conceded to be like, dude, that's probably, he had a reason. that whatever it is, it's all good. We we chalked it
Yeah.
up. It's all good.
This wasn't like, was I in the same like mindset of the Mr. Kennedy night? Do you remember the Mr. Kennedy? Like, was I in that mindset?
I
Maybe
don't
that
know.
was like,
Honestly, no idea. No idea. Because I remember talking to you and you were on your computer and you just seemed like you were in a horrible mood. And I was just like, all right, dude, you got it. It's all good. And but yeah, like, who knows, honestly, who knows? Maybe it just was like, maybe it could have been that we didn't communicate to you that was our expectation. And then, you were upset because we didn't communicate. I don't know.
yeah, who
You know
knows?
what I'm saying? It's like one of those situations. It's just like, like it was miscommunication, and there's nothing you really can do about it. So I was like, whatever, let's just keep it moving.
Yeah. Well, anybody listening, if you have recollection of the story and maybe some insight of why I was so upset, feel free to fill us in. But no, that's crazy. Well, is there anything else you wanna touch on?
Shoot, sorry. Give me 1 second. I left my phone out there.
You're good. You're good.
Sorry, giving you a lot to edit.
You're good.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I had some notes that I took just listening to the other podcast and just feeling the memories come back. Um, I just remember the highlight of 24 Down, like as us as a community. My favorite part was going to lunch with you guys or going to dinner with you guys. It was like, you know, it's like we mentioned before. It was unprecedented, the things that we did as a like, it was like a hive mind. Somebody said going to dinner, like 50 people would all go, just consume an entire area of the calf, and like that was it. It was like one huge table, and if there wasn't enough seats, we would put another table. So it was like 4 or 5 tables, maybe 6, linked together to form this huge, grandiose table in the middle of the cafeteria. And it wasn't like those things where it's just like people talking to each other. It was like the person from one end of the table was talking to the person on the other end of the table, and everyone was talking to each other, and we all got along. And it was, like I said, like a hive mind where we all just were like in that, like the Bible says, one accord, whatever. It was something that I've never experienced and probably will never experience again. Just going to dinner with you guys and just just being there amongst that fellowship, if to use the churchy word. Some of my best memories, honestly, were with Bowdy. Dude, Bowdy, me and him used to just turn up at the same time all the time. We would just do the dumbest things. Like the last day of chapel that we both had, we ran to the front of the chapel during the Hallelujah chorus. Remember, like at the end of chapel, the last chapel of the semester, there was a Hallelujah chorus that the choir used to go up. They did the Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Me and Bowdy ran up to the front and started moshing. Throwing bows, dude. We were like, dude, we were just, and Dr. Meyer literally was just like, get them out of here, get them out, get them out, go, get them. And I think it was no, it wasn't DeGiacomo. It was one of the professors just was like, guys, get out of here, go, just leave. And they like ushered us off the front. That was one of my all-time favorite memories. Me and Bowdy used to have a lot of class together. We used to have a lot of classes together because we were both youth ministry majors, and we used to just listen to Phil Baker do his thing, and we would just look. We would sit next to each other and look at Icon has cheeseburger pictures of cats during like classes, and we would try our best not to laugh out loud. But most of our classes were just us going, you know what I'm saying, like trying not to laugh. And we were just doing like, that's when memes first started, and we were just like laughing so hard at these stupid pictures of cats, and we just kept sending them to each other. So that was one of my favorite memories. Another amazing memory I had, ruining girls' night at chapel with Murph and Brandon and Alex. We all went up to like that upper portion where the chapel has the projector at, and then we just pulled the plug on a movie they were watching and turned off all the lights. And there was like probably 50 to 100 girls in that chapel, and they were just screaming. They were like, ah! And we just ran out the back door. It was so smooth. We just went up there, pulled the plug, turned the lights off, booked it. Nobody knew it. They canceled the whole event. They sent everybody home. The girls were so triggered, and they were like, "We're not having any more of these. People are immature. They can't do this." Um, that was amazing. I just ratted us all out for doing that. Uh, the like earlier I said, screaming Josh Groban with Drew. That was always a good treat to look forward to. Dude, so like I said, I grew up in a mostly predominantly white neighborhood, but living with Von Carson and James Fulton, I learned how to be black, bro. I finally accessed the black part of me that I never knew was there, and they taught me how to be black. And they were always clowning me and always just like, dude, you can't do that. What is wrong with you, bro? You're black, bro. And they would always like, teach me about black culture. And like, I understand black people better than I ever, like at that time, I understood them better than I ever could. And like up until then, I had a very much a white mentality, and I didn't understand like black culture at all. And living with those dudes, they're my brothers, like James and Dot. Those guys 100% are my brothers. Funniest dudes I've ever met in my life. Like they had such a weird inside joke type of relationship that I was only able to access like a little bit of it. They had so many funny phrases, so many funny words. They would clown everyone without them knowing it all the time. Um, Brilliant guys, very very talented on sports as well. Like my gosh. Um, and yeah, they just taught me how to be black, and so I love those guys. They are extremely important to me in my life, and just knowing like they formed a lot of who I am. Um, yeah, it's funny. I had to learn how to be black. Um, Watching you guys do airsoft gun battles, like speaking about like things that white people do. Bro, watching you guys do that stuff was so funny to me. Just like you guys shooting each other in the butt or like shooting each other in the nuts. I think one time you guys were like, all right, I'm gonna shoot you in the nuts with the airsoft, and somebody did it and they just like ate that thing. They're like, oh my gosh. You guys always doing stuff with your nuts, and it was hilarious. Speaking of which, I have the rights to the Korean Icy Hot video that got on MTV uh, pranked, but that video itself belongs to Samsung. I happened to upload it, and it just got tons of views, and it got on MTV, and I actually got $200 from it. So everyone that was in that video, I owe you at least a drink, or I owe you like at least $10. I owe you something. So that goes out to Buddha, Big Daddy, definitely Sam.
Banks, I think.
Banks was it? He's like, if I'll show you right now. That was my favorite part. He's like, you guys aren't even putting it on your nut. He's like, I'll show you right now. Yeah, I think that was it. That's all the guys that were in there. Maybe I think Nate was
Maybe
in there too.
Camphin, yeah.
Yeah. So I owe you guys a drink. I owe you guys, at least a little bit of money. So hit me up and I'll reimburse you. It was also funny, dude. Bucking Buddha. I've never laughed that hard in my life. But dude, be like, oh, like when seeing the real Buddha was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. When Buddha would just like come out and just be real Buddha, and you would just go buck wild, dude. I would like just be in tears because he would be butt naked, and he's a massive boy. He would just be bucking Buddha, and he'd put so many holes in the walls. Like he didn't understand how powerful he was. And I'm pretty sure I wrestled Buddha one time, and he like messed my whole back up for like a week. I'm 100% sure I scan and scrammed for like half of you guys. So I'm like, I'm going to chapel. Which one of you guys wants to scan and scram? And I'd take your ID with me, and I'd scan that thing. I had that thing down to a science because I would have both cards in my hand, and I'd just go boop boop, and I'd just like do it real quick. And Brian Kroll was none the rise. Was it Brian Kroll?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, something like that.
None the wiser. Just little memories here and there that bring me so much joy when I think about them. And there's just countless barber stories I could recall with each and every one of you. Like I cut Rizzo's beard one time, and he was like, "Dude, I've never had my beard look so amazing." Um, I've always cut the Brazilian twins, mostly Mikey. He always liked to get a cut from me, and we had a great time always talking and just chilling in the room. Um, yeah, there's so many freaking memories. I wish I could just put them all on the table and we could just have fun just thinking about them and talking about them. But yeah, loved 24 Down so deeply, and as I said, it was so formative for me to just know you guys and be loved by you guys, and also be part of the community that we all created. And I don't think any one of us can say, like, Buddha's definitely the grandfather of it all, but at some point there was just like a connection that happened that was unexplainable to any of us. And we all just did everything together, and we all just had such a unity that's why we won everything. And we were undefeated. We were just really unbeatable because of how much of a harmony we had. So, I guess those are my last parting words, just saying I love you guys so much, and you guys will always be my brothers and sisters.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Before we close this out and I do all my little end of podcast plugs, I got one last question for you. And that's when are you going to join the few of us and make it not so few of us and get that 24 down tattoo?
Dude, I'm thinking about it. I'm really like 70-80% just about there, about to get my tat. The tat I have right now, I'm growing tired of it. I needs to be updated. So I'm gonna get 24 down in there somehow, and let you know.
Can you encourage D-Shat that he needs to get it too? I know he was a little apprehensive because he wasn't sure if he felt as part of 24 down.
Does he have the Adelphos?
He's got the Adelphos.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. Like, you either got the Adelphos tattoo or the 24 down tattoo. But he's so tatted, he needs to get both. Like, what the heck, dude?
Right. All right. Well, that's awesome. Let me plug these real quick, and then we'll close this out. If you want to get at us at all, we got Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at 24 Down Podcast. You could email us for any reason, 24downpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our store Frontier, storefrontier.com/24down. I've got shirts that are going to be here within the next few days. When I get them, I'll post them, let you guys know how the quality is, that kind of thing. And check out our Facebook pages. We've got the one Facebook page for the 24 Down Podcast, like that. Be on the lookout for who's going to be coming up as a guest. You yourself can book yourself an episode, to be a guest on an episode. But we also have the 24 Down page itself, which serves as more of a just a group for all of us to get together. And it's not always so active, but it at least keeps us connected one way or another. So check those out. And as far as there was talk of doing a 24 Down reunion in October. A few of us have talked about it. I think we've kind of decided that based on everything that's going on in the world right now, the best bet, safest thing to do is hold that off until next year. So we don't have a month or anything like that. But sometime in 2021, hopefully there will be an official 24 Down reunion. So, Matias, man, I really, really appreciate you being on, man. You are more than just my birthday twin. You're my brother, dude. I love you to death. One of my best friends. Yeah. And I'll let you close it out if you got any last words.
Oh, man, I got a lot of last words. But, yeah, I love you too, man. And love you guys so much. Shoot, getting emotional. Frick. Oh, man. Yeah, you guys, I can't stress enough how much you guys mean to me. Like I said, you guys are very formative for me as a person. And like I said, I had a lot of growing and changing to do when I was in Valley Forge, and you guys were just there with me every step of the way. Regardless of how I was or who I was or how annoying I was and how loud I was, you guys were always there. And I never had anything like that. So, yeah, you guys rock. I'll just say this, and you can edit this out or not. But Valley Forge was a Christian college, and a lot of us, whether or not we're Christians now or not, I know it definitely is foundational to at least an aspect of our relationship. And I know I did not come to myself until the Lord found me. And I mentioned all that stuff that I went through, but I would not have come out of it if it would not been for the Lord. So I thank the Lord for my salvation, and I thank God for keeping, making it so that we are all together. And everyone who's come on this podcast has mentioned God one way, shape, or form, because we're either ministers or came from a Christian college. And so we cannot abandon the fact that the Lord is instrumental in everything that takes place. And I believe that it was God himself that orchestrated the fact that we were all together and we were all there in the way that we were and in the level that we were. So I thank God for you guys, and I thank God for the influence you've had on my life and will continue to have in my life. I'm the type of guy that if you're my friend and you're my brother, it's forever. I'm not you. If you want to let me go, that's cool, but I'm not letting you go. So, thank you guys so much. I can't express how much love I have for you guys. If you need anything at all, I will show up. I will be there and do everything I can to help you out. So, love you. Appreciate you guys. Stay strong in the Lord. Don't take your faith for granted. Your faith is what should be the foundation of your life. It should not be an addition to your life. And it took me a lot of heartache and pain to realize that. And I'm thankful that now I've made that my foundation. I have a lot of peace because of it, and I did not have any peace before that. The Bible says that the weak know no peace. I mean, the evil know, the evil know no peace. Where the blessed will know God, and those who are pure of heart will know God. And so I feel like I've it's because of God that I've really come through a lot of this stuff, and it's because of God that I have you guys. So thank you so much. I'm truly blessed.